Good evening. How's everybody doing? Awesome. So if you're a member and you plan on voting this evening, do you have your ballot? Anyone not have their ballot? Okay, well that's good. So I should have asked this before. Reverend Chris, who's the keeper of the flame this evening? Okay, Carmen Nevado, keeper of the flame, thank you. And our board members, if you could please stand so we can recognize you. Thank you very much. I'm not introducing them all. You know who they are. So let's go ahead and open with prayer. Reverend Chris, would you please?
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. Let's take a breath. I know we've all had active days. And another breath. As you exhale on this breath, just be willing to let it all go. Whatever might be preoccupying your mind, unsettled within your heart. The moments that we're about to share are truly sacred indeed. And we want to presence ourselves to fully absorb each and every instant of this time we have together. We can earnestly and honestly give thanks for every experience that we've ever had in our lives tonight. For each and every one has played a very significant part in bringing us into the collective consciousness that is unity on the Bay. The collective consciousness has been guiding this community for nearly 100 years. And here we are, the now generation of one of the most powerful spiritual vortexes on this planet. And we're grateful. Grateful for all those who have stepped up in service in any capacity to make this happen. Not only today, but the many generations that have preceded us. Most especially in our presence this evening, Reverend William Cameron and his wife Dory. They exemplify all of the brave and bold and courageous individuals that have brought us to this moment here and now. And in honor of them, and in honor of the capacity of the future of unity on the Bay, we give ourselves, our love and our loyalty to seeing our finest days arise as the future unfolds. For this and every single solitary blessing in our lives, we say, thank you, God. So it is. Amen.
So I guess I should have officially called the meeting to order, which I will do now. Minor little detail. And there are two other things I'd like to mention before we get into the meat of the meeting. Number one, we have a birthday this evening, and I'd like for us to sing happy birthday to our board secretary, Michelle Cuartas. And I'm the one with the mic, so I shouldn't be singing, but I'm going to put the mic a little far away. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Michelle. Happy birthday to you. So you're welcome for embarrassing you. And Reverend Chris already said it during the prayer, but it would be a big miss if I didn't recognize that Bill and Dory Cameron, Reverend Bill and Dory Cameron, are with us this evening. Thank you for joining us. Your presence makes this evening even more special. Now for the reading of the bylaws. And this text is small, so I have to take my glasses off. Article 4, Sections 4.10A and 4.10B. A, qualifications. To be eligible to serve on the Board of Trustees, a person must be an active member of this ministry for 1 year immediately preceding her or his election. In addition, candidates for election shall endeavor to live in accordance with the unity principles, work to further the vision and mission of this ministry through active interest, love, and support, be a sincere and continuing student of unity, always remaining conversant with its teachings, and shall have demonstrated leadership capabilities and/or core competencies in areas of relevance to the good governance of this ministry. B, nominating committee. 1, selection. A nominating committee will be formed at least 3 months prior to the annual membership meeting. The committee will consist of the senior minister and 3 members selected in the following manner. A, the board will elect one of its trustees not up for re-election to serve on the nominating committee, who shall serve as chairperson. The person elected by the board was Ileana Rodriguez. I got her name wrong the other evening, so I redeemed myself, hopefully. B, the board shall select 1 member from the membership of this ministry other than a trustee. Such member may alternatively be elected by vote of the membership at the annual meeting. C, the minister and the 2 selected committee members shall select the 4th member from the membership of this ministry. Duties and responsibilities. The nominating committee will initiate a search for at least 1 qualified candidate not already serving on the board per available position for nomination as members of the Board of Trustees. The report of the nominating committee will be provided to all members at least 10 days prior to the annual membership meeting in accordance with Section 3.5C of these bylaws. And with that, I'm going to ask Ileana to come up to do the chairperson's report. I guess we're all sharing the same mic.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of Unity on the Bay. The Board of Trustees selected me to serve as the chairperson of the Leadership Development Committee, formerly known as the Nominating Committee, in conjunction with Reverend Chris Jackson, Angela Ribeiro, and Jeffrey Morgan. The standard procedure of the Leadership Development Committee is to invite members to apply for the board by submitting an application, resume, references, and a cover letter stating the reasons why they would like to be on the board. We meet and review all responding candidates to confirm membership and leadership requirements are met. We then conduct interviews with qualified nominees. Each committee member questions the candidates. This process enables us to get to know the candidates better and to more effectively assess them as possible trustees. This year, there are 3 vacancies on the board. The terms of 3 board members, Eddie Dominguez, John Irving, and Steve McCoy, are ending. The Leadership Development Committee renominated and approved the current board member, Steve McCoy, who wanted to run for re-election as a candidate. In addition, there are 2 new candidates, Kelly Bussey and Israel Sosa, who have been approved by the Leadership Development Committee. Unity Worldwide Ministries encourages the recruitment of trustees who possess a high spiritual consciousness as well as specific and needed professional expertise. This balance of skill and attributes helps ensure the sound leadership of our spiritual community. The committee feels confident that the candidates meet the qualifications requested by Unity Worldwide Ministries. At this time, I would like to call for any nominations from the floor. Please note that anyone making a nomination from the floor will be given a form and should review and check the list of needed skills determined by the Leadership Development Committee. For the Board of Trustees, be prepared to speak of the needed interests, skills, and experience the nominee can offer the congregation. Hearing no nominations from the floor at this time, the nominations are closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ileana. Do you want the folder? Okay. Maybe not? It's okay. Do you need it? Okay. So a couple notes. So you've seen Nominating Committee and Leadership Development Committee. It's really the same thing, but we've evolved it in the bylaws that were just passed last week into a standing committee whose role is not just finding board members, board candidates, but now to develop leadership throughout the organization, meaning committees, councils, and creating a path to the board. So that was among the many changes. The other one was nominations from the floor. What you just heard is hopefully the last time we will call for nominations from the floor, and we will now have a write-in process. When that's happened, it's been incredibly disruptive, so I'm really happy about that change. It only took 9 years. I'm glad to make you laugh. All right. So now for the president's report. Let me get rid of this. Good evening, and thank you again for joining us this evening. As this evening loomed, I put off thinking about this for as long as I could. Board. It's a bittersweet moment, as this will be my final meeting as your president. Bitter because I know I will miss this role, which I have had for almost a decade, 20% of my life, more or less. It has truly been a labor of love that has given me as much growth and fulfillment as I could possibly give anything to this community and service. Sweet because I'm ready to take a break from my second unpaid full-time job. I usually spend the president's report talking about the previous year and a little bit about the road ahead. But tonight, I'm going to ask you to indulge me more of a retrospective. This story begins 10 years ago, maybe a little bit, just right under 10 years ago. Our spiritual community was in serious trouble. There was infighting on the board, infighting on the staff. The board had just fired the senior minister, Chris Jackson. The board president at the time, Laura Thazine, resigned in protest. At a Saturday meeting, the board informed the extended lay leadership in a rather awkward, cryptic meeting that it had fired the senior minister. On that day, two dudes, one named Eddie Dominguez and another named John Irvin, who had seen each other around and said hi and bye, but really didn't know each other all that well, began a friendship forged in love for this community and our senior minister. Before this day, I had no intention of getting involved at all. I had rebuffed multiple requests to be on the board and to get more involved. But as a result of what happened, a group named Future of Unity was born. John and I emerged as its leaders, and this group included a host of people throughout the congregation, like Mary McHenry, Laura Thazine, and Angela Ribeiro. We began a petition to recall the board and launched a campaign to show that Reverend Chris had the congregation's support. Our services during this time were packed with congregants showing their love for Reverend Chris. On one Sunday, we all wore white in a symbolic show of support. Nearly everyone in a standing room only crowd was wearing white that day. Over a long, hot summer, with a mediator engaged, Future of Unity and the board negotiated to try and find a solution that didn't involve taking the recall of the board all the way. The congregation was in serious conflict. We were on the brink. But fortunately, the board at the time, realizing that they had lost the faith and trust of the congregation, balked. At the same time, Future of Unity, which had the signatures and would have undoubtedly won a vote, decided in the best interest of Unity on the Bay to stand down. We reached a settlement that included fully restoring Reverend Chris and appointing a member from Future of Unity to the open board seat. from a list the future of Unity would provide. And we plan to finish this at the next round of board elections about 7 months later. Initially, my name wasn't on the list, and the rest of the Future of Unity team insisted. I still didn't really want to be on the board. But I relented, put my name on the list, and who would have thought they picked me? Still don't get it. But they did. It was the last in a series of mistakes that board would make. During this conflict, I learned many valuable lessons. One was the importance of the bylaws. They're boring, but they are important. Another was the importance of trust, transparency, and agenda-less leadership, and that we needed to rebuild all these things and re-engage the congregation's trust. I tell this story not because I want to take any credit for helping keep Reverend Chris, but because it is the clearest illustration of how far we've come as a community and as an organization. It illustrates how much we've overcome and how far we have come. At those next elections, the Future of Unity candidates would sweep, and the incumbent president was not reelected. I was elected president for the first time that evening, and tonight I will step down more than 9 years later. But I am very grateful for that previous board. As strange as it sounds, the truth is that the journey we have been on would not have been possible without that action. That was the beginning. Shortly after that episode, and it was a long one, we completed our first strategic plan. And it was this work that helped us realize that the building we were in would not serve us moving forward, and we needed to sell it to secure our future. We were so fortunate that those who came before us bought that property and preserved it for us to be able to utilize it to leverage and take Unity on the Bay to another level. Among those people was Reverend Bill Cameron. Over several years, we would embark on a process to sell the building. We would look at many options, but ultimately realizing that selling the property outright would unlock the most value and most future potential for our spiritual community. We voted not once, but twice by more than 90% to sell our property. We had already come a long way, but we had even further to go. During this time, we were still running a spiritual community and a business, and we had many milestones along the way. We had long envisioned being the place where new thought thinkers and speakers came when they were in Miami. We developed a major speaker program, and since then we hosted Don Miguel Ruiz and his sons, Byron Katie, Debbie Ford, Neil Donald Walsh, Marianne Williamson, Jack Canfield, and of course, Deepak Chopra, who considers us his home in Miami, putting Unity on the New Thought speaker map as the destination in South Florida. We began a comprehensive facilities rentals program, which helped to sustain the operations at 411, at one point accounting for 40% of our revenue. We celebrated the first same-sex marriages in our community right after the landmark Supreme Court decision. During this time, we said goodbye to an associate minister in our good friend Elizabeth Longo and ordained a new minister, Reverend Juan, who we are fortunate will soon be our next senior minister. Then came Hurricane Irma, and we were very convinced that our old building would not hold up. It had a lot of maintenance issues and a roof probably about 20 years past its lifetime. Initial images of the campus were frightening. It was surrounded by water, and the roof looked badly damaged. But when we arrived on scene, there was minimal flooding, except for in the basement. That was a miracle. The roof had mostly superficial damage, another miracle, but there was quite a mess to clean up. As you can see, we have overcome so much. In retrospect, we joked after the hurricane that maybe it would have been better if our prayers weren't answered, so we'd get the insurance money and sell the building, because the sale was not tied to the condition of the building. But alas, don't get greedy, right? Then we had to renegotiate the contract because the city didn't give our buyer a zoning variance that would have increased the value of our property. It took several months of tough negotiations, But again, we had another agreement, and we went back to the membership for approval. And again, more than 90% of the membership voted yay. While we had a signing ceremony for the first contract, for this one, I was just going to go to the law firm, sign the addendum, and the law firm was located just a few floors down from my office at the time in Brickell. But when I got there, I found myself alone in a conference room with a paralegal, and the magnitude of the moment hit me. I couldn't sign this document, at least not by myself. I reached out to Reverend Chris, and fortunately, he was able to race across town to join me. I waited. The paralegal waited. The attorney came to find out what was going on. I just wasn't going to do it. He was able to be one of the witnesses on the contract, and sharing this moment with Reverend Chris, it all felt right. Then our buyer got cold feet. This was a journey. They thought they were overpaying, and they were. They were concerned about us staying too long and having to evict us if we didn't find a place. But again, we overcame. I told them I'd be happy to take their deposit if they wanted, or they could stay the course and we could negotiate an earlier departure. Ultimately, they paid us an additional $300,000, but the race was on because we had to be out in 6 short months. The monumental task ahead of us was just beginning to hit us. I'd had some initial outreach with board members here at Temple Israel, and we were able to quickly secure space here. And this location has served us well. We have built a great relationship with Temple Israel that I hope will continue once we move. But the move here didn't happen without a lot of work. We had to move out of a building where we had been since the 50s. The staff worked diligently to make it happen. Some things moved here, some things moved to storage, some things to our new offices on Biscayne Boulevard. At the same time, we had to prepare this space to meet our needs, including new lighting, staging, and a sound system. But again, we overcame. On March 17th, 2019, we had our final service at 411. After a host of events and happenings we held as a community to help us let go of that building. Many of us left love notes on the walls, telling how much unity meant to us. One was quite emblematic of the mood, and it read, "These walls hold our history, but the spirit of unity on the Bay lives in our hearts and souls. Walls go down, yet our hearts move on in divine order to fulfill the higher plan. Thank you, Unity on the Bay, for being my home. Thank you, God, for our adventure in love." And it has been an adventure. And as you can tell, not only has this been an adventure, but at no point did we miss a beat. We reopened services the very next weekend here at Temple Israel. That would not have been possible without the amazing staff that worked nonstop to make it happen. If you're a member of the staff, please stand up so we can recognize you and show you some love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We also worked to select wealth advisors to help us with investing the proceeds of the sale and to establish an investment policy statement to guide our community's investments. As we settled in here and in our new offices, we worked to improve our services, We had no idea the challenge that we'd face next. Probably one of the most significant ever in the history of this organization's nearly 100 years. In early 2020, we started getting reports about a coronavirus spreading in Asia, and by March of 2020, we were in a full lockdown, and we were shut down as the COVID-19 pandemic raged. Again, our amazing staff and your board leapt into action. One thing is very clear: we probably would not have financially survived the pandemic if we hadn't sold our building. There was no roadmap or plan for what we would face, but again, we didn't miss a beat. We pivoted immediately to online services. The board invested in equipment and personnel to help improve our online presence. You could say COVID drove our digital transformation. And then the stock market crashed, and our investments lost $2 million in a single day. I get goosebumps. It was one of the most sober moments of my 9 years as president. I could not face people with that. But again, we rose to the occasion as a staff, board, and a community. It was such an in-your-face opportunity to live our principles. And again, we overcame. We stayed the course with our investments and our advisors. We deployed funds to help our immediate community, our broader local community, and our larger Unity community. We continued paying all staff, including those that weren't working, just because it was the right thing to do. We also provided over $100,000 in public gift cards to Unity on the Bay friends, many of which found themselves jobless. We also held various food distributions through our partnership with FarmShare, providing nutritious food to hundreds of local families, probably thousands. And we provided $50,000 in assistance to the Unity Worldwide Ministries Fund, aimed at helping those Unity communities that were most impacted by the pandemic. And we still held our backpack drive. And with board-approved matching funds, our community distributed more than 5,000 backpacks to kids in need. I really do hate this podium. That's part of the sweetness, right? I don't have to do this anymore. We also applied and received 2 rounds of PPP funding for more than $150,000 in federal CARES Act funds that have now been fully forgiven. And now we're working on another federal program where we should receive more than $130,000 in payroll tax rebates under the CARES Act, all as part of the coronavirus relief provided by the federal government. Months later, as the economy woke from its slumber, our investments would soar, not just to recover, but to make quite significant gains. And then we started to figure out how we would reopen safely, maintaining the health of our staff and congregation. It was months of work, where the staff teamed up with a board-appointed reopening task force to figure it all out, but we did, and again we overcame. It was scary, but we reopened to in-person activities that November with our delayed annual meeting on a Thursday night, much like this one. I will not soon forget standing up here on that evening and the immense amount of joy I felt in my heart to see our community together again. This last year, we continued to move forward in faith. Why am I getting emotional? The Love Gala returned. And we hosted the mayor of Miami-Dade County, Daniela Levine Cava, who was the recipient of our Light of Unity Award. And it's no coincidence that I was driving here and checking, I probably shouldn't say this, and checking my Instagram. And there was a photo of the mayor hoisting the pride flag with the colors for our trans community on today, which is Trans Visibility Day. I would get it eventually, but thank you for the help. And then we also had a record Give Miami Day soon after, raising more than $70,000. We reinvigorated fellowship opportunities, including the first annual Unity on the Bay Day and the first ever Winter Wonderland Party, and coffee connections for our new guests as well. We continued to expand digital and in-person programming and services, including shelf discoveries with Reverend Chris, the Tuesday-Thursday meditations with Juan, and the Unity University educational offerings. We've continued to invest in the business and the expansion of our ministry and operations. We hired professional broadcast technicians for our virtual services. The board has authorized the hiring of a new associate minister, and soon after, another minister will follow with a commitment to return to 3 full-time ministers at Unity on the Bay. We are also now recruiting for a director of business operations. We have a real CRM, and for those of you who may not know what a CRM is, it stands for Customer Relationship Management. It's software that basically helps you stay connected. And these are platforms that are specifically designed for faith communities. You've already started getting text messages from this system, and soon we'll see more advances in connectivity driven by this investment. And work has started on a new Unity on the Bay app. We have evolved as an organization. We have wealth managers, attorneys, a business consultant, and a recruiter working for us now. Just last week, we completed a years-long project to build the governance structure to create new bylaws that addressed where we are today as an organization and where we are going in the future. This overhaul of our bylaws passed with 90% support at last week's special membership meeting. And now we have a 5-year strategic plan that sets a clear framework to achieve the ambitious vision we have to evolve from a church to a spiritual community center that finds new and innovative ways to connect, transform, and inspire with the unity principles at our core. We have overcome so much, and now we're in a position to soar. This is a community that has mastered change. And one big change that is upon us, here I go again, is the recently I can. It's just a lot. Board meeting. Thank you. That's a good technique, John. And one big change that is upon us is the recently announced retirement of our beloved senior minister, Reverend Chris Jackson. It's actually interesting because a little-known fact is that he and I have made a commitment to each other long ago that we would stick around as long as the other one was here. So it's kind of fitting that we're both retiring. I'm not going anywhere, though, in such close proximity. And while Reverend Chris will undoubtedly be missed, and I, like many of you, grapple with the mixed emotions, I know this too is in divine order. This place is not about a building, it's not about me, it's not about Chris. It's about a community, an energy, and underlying principles that serve to empower us to live better, more complete lives through the realization that God has already given us everything we need, that we are complete, and we are divinely inspired beings. The greatest legacy, I can't look at you, Chris, the greatest legacy that Reverend Chris and I can leave this organization can't be measured, touched, or seen. It's the healthy organization we have co-created together with all of you, with trust, transparency, love, and respect at its core. These infuse everything we do and has powered us through all this change. This is the foundation for all the great work we have done, and it will be the basis for even greater work that we will do together. And this we must protect, for everything we do in the future is built upon this foundation. When you go back to the beginning of this story, it's easy to see just how far we've come. And we still have far to go, but all the pieces are in place. We have the right leadership in place, our roadmap is clear, and our future is bright. And as we move forward in faith, I have no doubt that Unity on the Bay's best years are ahead of it. And while I'm stepping down as president this evening, I will remain very engaged, chairing the Building Our Future Committee, which will help oversee the implementation of our strategic plan and guide the selection of our new home. I want to close with another love note that was written on the walls of Unity on the Bay in the days before we left 4/11. And it read, "There are very few things that I love more than Unity on the Bay. And while I know my love is for much more than this physical place, the attachment is still very real, and the process much harder than expected. As we release this place, I rest in the knowing that what I love and what enriched and will continue to enrich my life is the community, with unity in all caps. For we are unity. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We move forward in faith and community, knowing in my heart and in my soul that the places we will go and the work we will do will be even better, more impactful, and transformational. I love unity. There is no stopping us." Those are words that I left on the wall of Unity on the Bay 411. I look forward to co-creating this amazingness together. There really is no stopping us. Thank you. Thank you. I honestly don't know how I got through it. I'm not worried about being forgotten. I can assure you that one thing that doesn't happen to me often is being forgotten. That I do not worry about. Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for that levity. I needed it. All right. So now we move on to the presentation of the President's Awards, which obviously will be my last ones. And I also want to think about all those people who received previous President's Awards. One of the reasons why I do this is because I think one of the most important values in leadership is recognition, and sharing recognition with those who make our progress possible. Because it's not just about the leader, it's about everyone in the organization. And even leaders like myself, like Chris, like Juan, like John, the rest of the board, we can't do this without everybody else. So I'm going to start with the Spirit of Generosity Award. Previous recipients of this award include Cindy Binder and Cheryl Lockwood, Chris and Alain Arroyo, Keith Webster and Barry Collins, and Kevin Moran, who's here this evening. As many of you may recall, I'm Team Generosity. It's a little thing Chris and I have going. He's Team Gratitude, and I'm Team Generosity. This evening's Spirit of Generosity recipient is someone who lives the value so selflessly, always giving generously of her time, talent, and treasure, and only for the purpose of giving, never expecting anything in return. She has been a top donor and visionary steward since 2015. She has been a congregant since 1998, shortly after which she became a member of the choir and has been gifting us with song ever since. I am so happy to be able to give my final President's Award for Spirit of Generosity to Serena and Joaquin.
I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank all of you. This is such an honor. I am so grateful to be a part of this spiritual community, my family, my home. And I give God thanks for all of you and all your support for this wonderful ministry. Thank you again. This is so very special.
When I told Serena that I wanted to recognize her with this award, I was going to say give, but it's not given. It's very much earned. She was like, why me? And I was like, because I feel like you really embody generosity at its height, because generosity is really about selfless giving. And this is a woman that gives constantly of her time, her talent, and her treasure, expecting nothing in return. So thank you, Serena. The next award is Spirit of Service. Past recipients of this award include John and Rachel Davis, Bill Warren, Faye Albernas, and Alina and Achilles Ballestas. My final Spirit of Service award goes to someone who has never passed up on an opportunity to serve. Someone who loves our community through and through, never misses a meeting, never misses anything I can think of. I mean, literally anything I can think of. She's there when I'm not there. She is definitely an integral part of this community. Carmen Nevado has been a Reiki master teacher for almost 20 years. She led the Reiki Circle on the first Wednesday of the month for 5 years at Unity on the Bay at 411, right? Since she has also been a prayer chaplain at Unity on the Bay since 2015, chairperson of the Prayer Chaplain Ministry Council since 2018. She's a founding member of the Racial Justice Ministry and of the Care and Communication Subcommittee of the Building Our Future Committee. Wow, that was a long one. She was a regular speaker and meditation facilitator at Unity on the Bay's former Om Hour, frequently conducts meditations at our Sunday celebrations, and more. But I couldn't keep writing this. So please join me in celebrating Carmen Nevado for her profound commitment to Unity on the Bay.
I just wanted to say thank you very much, Eddie. And thank you very much for this community that has given me the opportunity to grow before you and to share my gifts and talents. It is truly an honor to be able to serve.
I literally can't think of a single time that I've been anywhere related to a unity happening, event, meeting like this where Carmen isn't at, and usually supporting us in prayer. Okay, so now the hard one. Spirit of leadership. Previous recipients of this award include Sandra Tagel, Angela Ribeiro, Amy Baez, and Steve McCoy. My final award for Spirit of Leadership goes to someone who couldn't deserve it more. Someone who went from, someone who went from leading our beautification committee team at 411 to being my partner in Future of Unity, and then vice president for 9 long years. His love for this community is not easily surpassed, and his leadership has always been rooted firmly in our principles as his central guide. He has always stepped up. No task or mission too great or too menial. Sound system, lights, streaming, this stage I'm standing on, I think. All of these things happened in large part, right? Thanks to John and his leadership and direct involvement in our community. He has been a key player behind the scenes in every important moment for our community. And while I often stand in the front, he has always been there, having my back. I'm proud to call you my brother. Please join me in giving John Irvin some love for his 9 years as vice president and leadership that has long preceded that.
Checking. There we go. Board meeting. Thank you for this award, Eddie. I accept this because you gave it to me, Mr. President. Board meeting. But what I want to do is take a few minutes to talk about you, since this award is about leadership. You've said many, many times that I've always had your back. Well, you must be in front of me for me to have your back. Leading the way, leading the charge, and you were. In the President's report, you've heard of the many things that have been achieved by the Board of Trustees and the staff since 2013. It's a list that was achieved by your leadership, Mr. President, and the hard work of staff and previous and current board members. The thousands of hours given out of love for this organization is immeasurable, both in talent and in treasure, and by the direction of Eddie Dominguez. As you heard earlier, there has been an ongoing debate between Reverend Chris and Eddie about which of the 7 Unity on the Bay values is the most important. Reverend Chris believes it's gratitude, while Eddie believes it's team generosity. Yes, exactly. Well, the 5th principle of the Unity movement is knowing and understanding the laws of life, also called truth, is not enough. A person must live the truth that he or she knows. Eddie Dominguez, you've got the 5th principle down when it comes to generosity. The tens of thousands, and he would never say this, so I'm going to say it for him, okay? The tens of thousands of dollars you've donated to Unity on the Bay, the hundreds of hours you've given, and the love and talent you've poured into this organization is enormous. In addition, I have to say this too, City National Bank has been the #1 sponsor in every one of the main events we've held since 2014. Eddie, your generosity over the past 9+ years is awe-inspiring. So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask once again, please stand and give this gentleman a round of applause.
I just want to say I did not pay him for that. Can always count on the First Lady or wannabe First Lady of Unity on the Bay. That's an inside joke. That's Ileana. Okay, so let's get this show back on the road so I can take a little break and welcome Steve McCoy, our treasurer, to give our financial report.
Good evening, Unity on the Bay, spiritual family. When I walked in tonight, I said to Jason, how does the PowerPoint look up on the screen? PowerPoint on the screen. And he says, Steve, I tell you every year, it's too small. Well, someday we'll get a bigger screen. But anyways, you all have handouts, I hope, so that you'll be able to read the numbers along with me. I'm going to go over the major variances. But the first one is the statement of activities, and that's comparing our 2021 to 2020. So our revenues for 2021 were $706,195 compared to 2020, which was $630,330. And 2020 was the year of COVID, of course. So our revenues were positive by $75,865. I'm going to go through the major variants. Our services, tithing was up by $15,365 in 2021. We also had our sacred service. We were up $34,440. $30,000 of that was a contribution for farm share. And then the other major variance was in special events, and that was the 2021 gala. We didn't have a gala in 2020. And that special events was up $32,932. So those three categories make up the majority of the $75,000. In our expenses, our total operating expenses were $1,139,028 in 2021 compared to $985,914 in 2020. So our expenses were up $153,114. Looking at sacred service, again, that was up $46,781, and $30,000 of that was from the farm share. In general and administrative, that was up $60,010, and that was from, we had our strategic plan consultant that helped us put our strategic plan together. And then under special events, that was up $29,559, and that was Jack Canfield and the gala. Our tithing outreach was, for the 2021, was $77,352, compared to in 2020, $245,520, for a variance of $168,168. And that, as Eddie mentioned, was we gave quite a bit in COVID relief Both we gave $50,000 to Unity Worldwide Ministries, as well as $100,000 here in the community with public gift cards. That was the majority of that variance. So for the year, our net income was net income loss actually was $516,112 compared to the prior year of 2020, $605,014. So we had a positive variance of $88,902. And each year in 2020 and in 2021, the board approved to have funds transferred for this ministry in order to cover those losses. So in 2020, $650,000 was approved, and in 2021, $600,000 was approved. Looking at our balance sheet, our statement of financial position, we have currently in our operating account $177,629. In our money market account, we have $1,158,269. Petty cash, $500. Accounts receivable, $2,732. In our investments in BNY, we have $9,963,350. In City National Bank, we have $13,485,270. In our other current assets, so our total current assets are $24,808,154. In our fixed assets, there's $72,560. And in our board-designated BNY is $6,187,855. So our total assets are $31,080,473. Thank you, God. In our accounts payables, liabilities, $58,358. In our short-term liabilities, $18,235. So our total liabilities are $76,593. Not bad with all that cash in the bank. And our total net assets are $31,003,880. So our total net liabilities and net assets are $80,473. Yeah. So, if we take a look at our investment portfolio, you can see we started in December 31st, 2019. We invested $27 million. By the end of 2020, we had December 31st, 2020, we had $28,382,268. So we were up roughly $1.3 million. And then, as Eddie mentioned, the market took off after COVID, and we were up at the end of 2021. We were at $29,536,475. And if you've watched the stock market over the first quarter of this year, it's been quite rocky. So as of the end, the 29th of March, we were at $28,372,521. And if you look across, we're almost at where we were, and most accounts actually are seeing that they're almost at where they were at the end of 2020. And if we look at the next page, we see how our portfolio is allocated. We have about 32% of our portfolio are in equities and stocks, $9,106,368. We have $1,421,984, about 5% in cash. We have $16,206,601, about 57% in fixed income. And we have $1,637,568 in alternatives. And you can see, again, we've got about $1,372,000 is from what our original investment, so we're up about 5.1%. Are there any questions on the financial report? We are prosperous. Thank you, God.
Thank you. They're a lot of fun when you're talking about millions. I can tell you the first couple of years we were like talking, scratching those pennies together and wondering how we were going to keep the lights on. So it's a huge difference where we are today. So a few points that I want to make. Number one is the loss that you're seeing is less than what was expected, less than budgeted. And while it's a loss, we're also earning in our investment portfolio. And some of those earnings are being applied to our operations. That's the money that Steve was talking about that the board approves moving in for operations. And the important thing is that our net is still moving up while we continue funding operations with our investments. Then the BNY fund that has about 6.9 now? 6.1 million dollars in it. That is hopefully, depending on where we land with our new property, what's going to be a tithing, an endowment fund, potentially a foundation for the benefit of Unity on the Bay and for tithing in our community as created, a structure that's being created by a tithing committee and the board. And hopefully that fund will be intact so that we continue to do good work with that money. And another thing that hasn't been discussed a lot is the general strategy when it comes to the new building is going to be using credit to buy the property as opposed to taking out the nest egg. And we've already secured a $9 million line of credit that we'll be able to use. It's against the investments. So what's key there is something called arbitrage, which is making sure that what you're paying on the interests is less than what you're making on the investments. So your money is making more than you're paying in the debt against those investments. And even with interest rates rising, we're going to be just fine on that front. The key message is we are prosperous. And while we're talking about the building, I don't know why I didn't put this in earlier. There's been no forward movement with our offer, but they continue cogitating. They're going through a whole internal process. For those of you who were here when we went through ours, it took us about 2 years to get through it. I'm hoping they're going to do it a lot quicker than us, to be quite honest. So, anyways, where are we in the agenda? It's presentation of the candidates. The First Lady is back. You're going to kill me?
Will Kelly Busey please come forward to make a statement on why she would like to be on the board?
Good evening, everyone. So I am Kelly Busey, and when I was 5 years old, I'm taking this way back, I remember my mother taking me to Catholic church. I always got excited when I got to dip my fingers in the water and do the little cross thing on my chest. And I also remember wondering how it was sanitary for the entire congregation to drink out of the same vessel. I guess I was a germaphobe even as a little kid. The following year, my mother took me to a different kind of church. This was called Unity on the North Shore in Chicago. I never wanted to go to Sunday school. Instead, I sat by my mother in the audience, soaking up those positive messages. With God, all things are possible. There are no limits to what you can do. Somehow, now I need to say board meeting. Board meeting. Somehow, my little 6-year-old mind was processing it. As a teen, we discovered Unity in Chicago, a bustling community led by the late, great Mike Matone. He was a comedian at heart, and each Sunday he would make us laugh until we cried. Then came Unity in New York, where the legendary Eric Butterworth taught me to discover my power within, followed by the late, great Johnny Coleman's church, Christ Universal Temple, that was Unity with a whole lot of gospel. Finally, we moved to Miami, and I found this incredibly loving, open, and diverse community alongside a beautiful bay. I used to go to services on Sunday, and somehow, some way, the two ministers knew exactly what I needed to hear. I was going through a rough time in my life. I had a business that was draining my bank account and my soul. I'd lost some of the positive mindset I grew up with. I was stuck, and I knew it. Every week, these guys named Chris and Juan would bring me back to center. You know there's no limit to what you can do, they would say. To which I would think, yeah, Chris and Juan, but I'm having fun limiting myself, so you're gonna have to work harder to change how I'm feeling right now. Yet they persisted with their incredibly inspiring messages each week. After George Floyd's murder, I watched a roundtable Chris had about race. Shortly thereafter, I sent an email to him and got engaged with Digging Deeper. What a passionate group of people. We had so many ideas, but not a lot of organization. Shoot, organization is what I do, and I knew what was coming. You see, throughout my life, God has said, when the time comes, I'm gonna need you to step up, Kelly. And that was what God was saying right now, to which I replied, are you sure, God? Like right now? And I heard, yes, Kelly, it's time. So I volunteered to facilitate 2 conversations to get us organized. I blinked, and those 2 sessions turned into an actual ministry with the support of resources and to address racial injustice. With the help of an amazing group of people, we built the Racial Justice Ministry. Since its inception, the ministry has offered programs helping children, brought us programming like the Kwanzaa service, and a multitude of educational and self-enrichment events. The work is challenging and rewarding. Racial and social justice is my passion, dare I say, my calling, and to have the opportunity to work with Unity on the Bay to address these important issues has been a dream. But the real question is, who am I and what can I do for the community as a board member? First and foremost, I, like you, am a child of God. I am also a corporate executive. I worked at American Express for over 20 years, leading global and highly complex initiatives. My experience setting strategies and being able to execute them is what I get paid to do, and it will help us as we work to bring our strategic plan to life. I'm also a real estate developer. I've built 150+ unit affordable housing communities, and I have a deep understanding of the real estate development process. I love to build, and I'm excited to lend my expertise to help us locate and develop our new church home. I want to serve on the board because since the time I was 6 years old, Unity has served me. Board meeting. It is at the core of my being, and I wouldn't be here today without it. Oh, this is not how I practice this. And quite frankly, it's time to step up, again, because God said so, and who am I to argue with God? So thank you for your time. It would be an honor to receive your vote to serve this community as a board member.
Thank you, Kelly. Will Steve McCoy please come forward to make a statement on why he would like to serve on the board or continue serving?
Good evening, spiritual family. As you know, I've served as your treasurer for the last 3 years. I've actually served on a board prior. And as Eddie mentioned, and he went back 10 years ago, I was actually one of the members of the board that fired Chris Jackson. And I think I am uniquely, because of that, I think I am very uniquely prepared to serve on this board because I have experienced what you've seen here is the love and the legacy that Eddie and Chris have put to us and how critical that is in our leadership. And I recognize that, where back then, I didn't have the spiritual maturity to understand what was happening. And it took me a long time to forgive myself for that. And Chris helped me through that. And he has been my mentor. He is my spiritual leader. And I have really mixed feelings about this retirement. I'm so happy for him. But we have 3 very amazing things happening in this community that makes our future look so bright. We are looking for a new home. We not only looking for a new home, we have a strategic plan that we can begin that has that roadmap. And at the same time, we are going through a transition of our senior ministers. And this is all good stuff. It's amazing stuff when Eddie talks about how far we've come. And I really would be honored to continue to serve on your board and to continue to provide the leadership for us to move forward in love and unity and grow us to that community center that we know that this city of Miami, and be that beacon of light here. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Will Israel Sosa please come forward to make a statement on why he would like to serve on the board?
Good evening, everyone. And I'd like to start by really thanking the nominating committee and the rest of the Board of Trustees for considering me, to be a worthy candidate to serve with you on the Board of Trustees. So I really want to thank you for that. And I want to tell you that I try not to mention the religious institution where we were attending, but when my daughter received her first communion, I give it away, I'm sorry. Anyway, when she did, we made a decision as a family that we would no longer be active in that community or institution. We just were not comfortable there. And we spent a few years, really, I was telling Chris earlier that I hit the lottery back in 2005 when I met my wife. And so we really had a wonderful family, a wonderful child, but there was something missing, and we knew that there was something missing spiritually. And there are places near my home that I could walk to that are also spiritual communities, but for some reason this word unity kept coming up. I can't explain why, although I can say that the word unity is a super powerful word. That is a very powerful word. And when we came here, from the very beginning, we started to believe that when people mentioned the word unity, they meant it, and that's so important. So from the very beginning, and I remember it was the weekend right after Thanksgiving, we made the decision to try it out. And we came, and we liked it so much that when they asked for volunteers to decorate 411, I said, okay, we'll do it, And then we had the wonderful opportunity of meeting Raul and some other members, people that are sitting right here right now. And we just, continue to feel like we had found a family. And I think to this date, I think we still feel the same way. And we've gotten engaged in the Kids Zone and children's ministry, and that was wonderful. And my wife and I have been involved in other community service activities, and it just feels like the right thing to do. So when I received the call from Ileana regarding this, and kind of caught me off guard, and I thought of by the way, I'm congested. I don't need to say board meeting, but yeah, yeah. But anyway, we when she called and I thought about it, the reason I said yes, even though I know that I have very little time these days, because it felt like the right thing to do. It felt like it was the right thing, so I had to say yes. And I want to say that as a board member, if I'm asked to contribute, I know that we have the strategic plan, and there might be, my background is mostly education. Literally, my experience in education expands about 4.5 decades, literally. I became a teacher's aide at the age of 18. I would say that I would try to contribute as a board member for any future attempts at establishing an educational program, and I would say it based on my experience, and I will be very honest with you. I would have to be honest and tell you what I really feel is the right thing, and also it would come from my heart. That's just the way I operate. So, again, I want to thank you for considering me, and if I am elected to the board, I can only guarantee you that I will do my best to meet your expectations. Thank you, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you to our candidates and to Ileana and the rest of the nominating/leadership development committee. It's actually, that's for those of you who may not be aware, there are two board tasks that nobody really wants. One is to be the secretary of the board. The other one is to be the chair of the nominating committee. So, but she volunteered. It was like amazing. So I love that. So thank you, Ileana, and the rest of the nominating committee. And I know that our board secretary is counting the seconds to when she doesn't have to do minutes anymore. So, all right, so now it's time for the big mystery of the night, the election. So if you would please mark your ballots. All you have to do is check 1, 2, or 3 names. You can check up to 3. As you can see that there's 3 names on the ballot. So this will be no mystery, but it's all good. What do you need? Your ballot? Oh, in that folder that you didn't need. Could be that it's time to vote. And isn't it funny how the universe works? If you listen to some of that, I'll call on you 1 second, Angela. Kelly, real estate development, corporate executive in strategy. Israel, assistant principal, right? In the school system. Education is a big part of the strategic plan. So it's like God just keeps putting the pieces on the chessboard for us, right when we need them. Angela, what was your question? No, because they're all 3-year terms, so. Check, check, check. And the winner is. What did you say? Okay, don't repeat it. Don't repeat it. I should have known better than to ask Faye to repeat something. All right, who's going to collect the ballots? Yes, you can fold it. Awesome. Can I turn my ballot in too? Too bad I do. Señorita, gracias. This thing is like coming forward. Yep. It's just love coming at me. Awesome. Okay, has everyone submitted their ballot? Awesome. So with that, I'm going to ask Reverend Chris and Reverend Juan to come up to, this will be a first, to deliver the co-senior minister's report.
I promise to be as brief as possible since you have to endure me so many Sundays. But I do want to acknowledge Eddie and John this evening in many ways, not the least of which is that we are all retiring in different ways tonight. This is my 16th and final annual report to Unity on the Bay. Eddie has shared with you where we've been. In just a few moments, Juan's going to talk to you about where we're going. I want to share with you where I believe from the bottom of my heart we are right now. In this very moment, I believe we are a powerful spiritual vortex, my friends. Never forget that. That's the root of who we are. A spiritual, energetic vortex. Less than 5 years from our centennial. Less than 5 years. So we're over 95 years old and still going very strong. Yes. I want to take a moment tonight just to contemplate. I do this frequently. I've done it all through my years here. All those who have preceded us, without whom we would not be in this room tonight. There are generations upon generations that have made this work possible, all the way back to May Stoiber forward. And it was such an honor to see Bill and Dory walk into the room tonight, because I truly believe, and I say this every time I see you, we would not be here were it not for your dedication and love of this community. Thank you. So together we have created an energetic field that allows us to be a catalyst for spiritual awakening, evolution, and action. We're a true community. Connected not only now in person, but also around the world, really, virtually. It's a beautiful thing. We're cooperative as a true community. We have made huge decisions, my friends. The decision to move, the decision to alter significantly our bylaws. These are oftentimes points of great contention and debate within spiritual communities. You all have cooperated together in making these major changes possible. We're supportive. Just a couple of days ago, I was talking with Tina Moore, Aaron's beautiful wife who greets us so often at the door, who's been going through a tremendous health challenge. And she said, you know, I'm absolutely overwhelmed by the level of prayer support I have received from so many individuals. I can't even tell you, and I can't keep up. This is not just an isolated incident, my friends. This happens all the time at Unity on the Bay when people come together to support one another in prayer, and there's no greater sense of support that can be offered. We're accepting, if you have not noticed. Specifically, it's taken us a lot longer than we ever dreamed to find our new home. But if you really think about it, it took us a long time to finally wedge and wiggle our way out of 411 to arrive here. So I have every confidence that we'll continue to move forward. We're tight, my friends. We're really tight. Just count the number of embraces you receive on a Sunday morning when you come into this room. I'll never take one of them for granted. We're a band of souls with a vision for humanity inspired to its divinity. We're faithful. We've stayed solid to our vision for the future. We're flexible, as Eddie pointed out so vividly, through COVID-19. Amazing. You know, sometimes I think we were just as united, if not more united, when we couldn't come together physically, because we were still connected in every sense of the word. And we're fortunate, if you haven't noticed. You heard Steve's financial report tonight. We're so blessed to have these resources available for us to create the vision of our future and of our dreams. I keep thinking I've got all the emotion out of my system. Since February 20th, I didn't think there was a single tear left. I'll just do my best, but I have to tell you that I give thanks for the love that I've been able to share with you for these last 16 years. And the great thing about love is it never goes away. It only grows stronger, regardless of physical proximity, regardless of conditional circumstances. I love every member of our board and staff with all of my heart. And I'm especially grateful to those that I've traveled with the longest on this journey. Specifically, Mary McHenry, who was one of our past presidents. I've served for years. There you are, Mary. You know, Eddie shared with us tonight about the last 10 years, but there were a few wild and crazy years before that, my friend, and we held each other's hands and hearts through it all. I cannot ever thank you enough. You have a permanent home in my heart. Laura. Oh, she's counting the ballots. Well, if she were here, that's just as well, because I'd be overwhelmed with tears as well. These are individuals, sacred relationships that now span years upon years. I'm so grateful. And for us to have individuals that continue to show up in service on the board, my friends, we have long-standing members of our board, and that is not always a commonality in spiritual communities. Very grateful. Steve. Thank you. You're really my brother, you know that. And the road we've traveled is irreplaceable. And you too. We are the three amigos. There's nothing we cannot do, and there's nothing we have not done. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Of the staff, I just want to focus on a few of them that have been with me the longest, and I'm looking over at Charles because I can't tell you how many times I have said, this is the day that the Lord has made, as a sound check on Sunday mornings. Way back in 411, we almost arrived at the same time, I think, Charles. Thank you. I love you, and you're my brother. Dale is not with us tonight because he has another wonderful opportunity to be of service in the community, but he is also one of my great spiritual brothers. And celebrating tomorrow his 8th year anniversary on the staff of Unity on the Bay, and serving us really long before that, Jason Weeks. Jason, I just cannot put it into words. And then there's this fellow over here. We're in such a wonderful position to be able to have a man who's been with us almost 20 years, ready, willing, and completely competent and capable to step up to this plate. I am so grateful for you, and I always will be. So, my friends, what we're doing is what Abraham Hicks calls trending. If you're not familiar with that terminology, we've got an energy, we've got a momentum going here that's moving us in a very positive direction. Stay with that trend, please. Trust it, surrender to it, love it, and to the very best of your ability, enjoy the ride. And this much I can guarantee you. Florida, Kansas City, I'll be watching.
As so many people kept repeating, board, board, board. I was just sitting with that, though. The reality is that we're so in touch with the love, the energy, and the consciousness that is Unity on the Bay. And so the emotions come, and they're part of the gratitude that we are feeling, and they're part of the gratitude that is within our hearts. And so I say, let's have a cry fest. Let's have a love fest, and let this year that we really allow ourselves to settle into the energy that is moving us. It's so interesting because, of course, it wasn't intended, but I'm sure God had the intention. Right before this meeting, we got an email, Chris and I, from Silent Unity. They usually hold different Unity ministries in prayer every day. And they just wanted to let us know that today was the day that they were holding Unity on the Bay in prayer at Silent Unity. God works in so many beautiful ways, reminding us that we are on the right track, that we are moving in faith. And I posted something recently. God just says, I got your back, boo. Now, not fair that I get to speak all the way at the end and close to 9 o'clock, so I've had to cut down my joke for the evening. But if you want to hear it after the meeting, I'll be on the side and I can share it with you. But I really want to just invite us to remember that we have really tapped into this divine wisdom and this divine prophecy that God implanted within our hearts. And we've really allowed that vision to take hold. And God not only gave us the vision, but the vision itself is God. It's an expression of the divine, and we're going to be experiencing more and more the fruits of that vision. I want to say that we've tapped into that vision that is one that is greater than any one of us could have individually dreamed up. Because this is our collective dream. It is our collective vision
and we're going to be living into it together. Through this time, I've realized just the power that is within our community, and I think it can be put into two buckets for me. One is the power of our faith. Chris reminded us that we are moving forward in faith. But we really, if we look at all that was shared tonight, especially by Eddie, the way in which faith shaped us and the way that all that we moved through deepened our faith, made it grow. And so we have not only trusted the divine plan, but we continue to trust it and we continue to have faith in it. And we have all the faith within us to make that dream and that vision a true reality. As Martin Luther King said, you don't have to see the whole staircase just to take the first step. We know that we are elevating ourselves, that premier spiritual community center. We know all of the steps. Is it 9 o'clock already? And I'm just like, you could be more subtle, Charles. But, okay, that was better than the original one, actually. So, but, you know, with each step, the other ones become clearer. We also have the power of community, really, right? Like, even in the tears, what we're really experiencing is how deep our connections and our relationships are, and we can always lean on them. You know, when some of us may have questions sometimes, the faith, we get to lean on each other, and we hold each other's hands until we remember that God has ordained what Unity on the Bay has been, is, and will be. When we became more clear about who and what we wanted to be, we began to intentionally create a stronger, deeper foundation, and it has never been stronger. As somebody who's been here for almost 20 years, I can tell you that, and so thank you, Eddie, for all that you've done to create that. I'm going to let it be. Thank you, Chris, for all that you have done. John, all the board members, every single one of you, each and every one of us, the collective us, have made it possible. And this strong foundation is now what we get to build on top of. Now we're getting into the structure that we're building above this foundation. And we are starting to see what the house will look like, what the center will look like. We're going to get to pick out what we put into our new structure. We're going to be able to see how we decorate it, design it, allow it to just come to be. And it truly will be the spiritual community center of our dreams. So what's ahead? Continued growth, continued movement, continued evolution. I was thinking, even the space that I've been invited to move into during the next year, the same call is in each and every one of us. We're all being called to step up, to go deeper, to become more spiritually and emotionally mature, and to just continue to say yes. Yes to the plan, yes to God, yes to us as the expression of God. We're beginning to create some of the beautiful structures for our first year priorities. Just yesterday, a few of us were meeting to go over what would be some of those priorities from the strategic plan. And I have to tell you that there was a lot of laughter, there was a lot of love, and there was a lot of cohesion. Once again, God just saying, I got you, boo. I'm with you. I want to thank the Building Our Future Committee, Eddie, who is our chair, Lisa, who is our consultant, Kevin Moran, Kelly Bussey, and Angela Ribeiro. Reverend Chris and I complete that committee. This group will oversee how we begin to prioritize and implement the 5-year strategic plan. This first year is going to include more fellowship opportunities. It's going to include the expansion of many of the programs that you love, like spirit groups, like the racial justice ministry, like the prayer and congregational care support that we provide our community. We're going to be looking at broadening and revamping our Sunday celebration services. We're also going to be seeing if there are alternative ways that we can invite people into spiritual community and a reminder, a remembrance of God being within each and every one of us. We actually already created a fellowship ministry, and I want to just take a moment to thank Edith Deek, who is in the back. She greeted you. She is our new fellowship ministry chair. So thank you, Edith. The plan is already unfolding, and Kat Rengel, our administrative assistant, is the staff liaison for it. Our Spirit Groups Council, again, led by Kevin Moran. We just brought in additional members who are going to be doing phenomenal work. Carolina Mesa, who's one of our members, she's going to start helping us with programming and looking at different activities that we can bring, not only on Sundays for workshops, but throughout the day, throughout the week, and in many different ways. We're in the final stages of hiring an associate minister to join Reverend Chris and I. We're also in the final stages of hiring a director of operations. And shortly after the summer, as Eddie mentioned, we're going to be looking to hire another minister to bring us back to having the 3 ministers on staff. So many of you, so many of us are really answering the call to usher in this new future. And it all continues because of each and every one of you. Your continued engagement is how these dreams become a reality. We must be committed to allowing the evolution of Unity on the Bay to begin within each of us, then connecting with each other and together co-creating that future under the guidance of Spirit. So I'm going to invite you to not only consider how you can be more involved, but to ask all those that you connect with on Sundays, in your spirit groups, in your programs. Get involved, become engaged. If you're already in teams or councils, ask yourselves, what can I do within this ministry that will support the next step of our evolution, the next step of that staircase to that spiritual community center that we have been dreaming of and praying on. And speaking of that, I just invite you to continue to hold it all in prayer. It's the single most important act that each and every one of us can be a part of to support the evolution of Unity on the Bay. Keep it in prayer. Affirm it, know it, trust it. Really live these principles. I am going to invite you specifically, by the way, to keep in prayer that new location, the one that we sent the letter of intent. You can all keep it in prayer, just trusting and knowing that this is the divine space for us. Little known fact, I actually drove around it. I may have somewhat graffitied "Sold to Unity on the Bay" throughout the perimeter of that location. Use the principles to allow this vision to become manifest. Of course, our future this year is also about honoring the legacy that Chris continues to leave within each of our hearts. To me, the future isn't separate from the past. It's inclusive of it. It honors it. It makes a legacy out of it. And so this year, what the future holds is for us to savor every moment that we have with Chris. To savor every moment that we get to say thank you. Job well done. With gratitude, with love in our hearts. Our future includes all that we have lived through, and we will together transcend it to the next stage of our evolution. So we continue to rise up. We do so hand in hand. And I'm going to invite you to do something that some of you may have done with Martha Creek in the past, although I'm making a slight little change here. Turn to the person next to you and say, "What I cannot do alone, we will do together." Now turn to another person near you and say, "What I cannot do alone, we will do together." In our unity of purpose, we are guided by divine wisdom and we are prospered by divine love. Together, we will witness the blessing that Unity on the Bay is in our own lives and the blessing that we get to be for this spiritual community. This is our community, this is our future, and we have all that we need to make it bright, beautiful, and an expression of the divine. Thank you, and namaste.
So let's take a moment to reflect on the rowdy board and co-senior minister. No, let's take a moment to reflect on the gift of no corny Juan joke, and and on the fact that our soon-to-be senior minister is vandalizing properties in Miami. Okay, I know, but you put it out there, so. Anyway, seriously, I've also started to reflect on what I'm going to do with all the extra time. Maybe I'm going to lose a little weight. Maybe finally get a love life after 10 years on this board. But I'm sorry, what'd you say? Oh. Maybe the fellowship will help. But no, seriously, I'm not going anywhere. Like I said, I'll be engaged in the Building Our Future Committee, and I commit to all of you this evening that my work is far from over here at Unity on the Bay. Thank you. A few final thoughts that may be a little bit redundant, but I think they're important. Number one is that everything is on God's plan and God's time. And everything is going to happen exactly when it needs to, how it needs to. Because as we know full well here, everything is in divine order. Our roadmap is clear. The pieces are in place. The future is bright. And as Juan said, the opportunity is for each of us to ask ourselves what our role is in making that bright future a reality. I'm super excited because if there's one thing I know in my heart, and there are a lot of things I know in my heart, but this is one of them, is that the best is yet to come for Unity on the Bay in this community, undoubtedly. So before we close, I want to share a little bit of bad news for the board members, which is while all of you get to go home, we have a board meeting immediately after this meeting. It should be a short one. And with that, I am going to announce the grand mystery of the evening. Elected to the Board of Trustees are, Kelly, is it Bussey? Okay, because Kelly Bussey, Steve McCoy, and Israel Sosa. Awesome. Thank you so much for stepping up and agreeing to serve and continuing to serve. And with that, I'm going to ask Reverend Juan to close us in prayer, and then I'm going to let you all go home.
All right, well, every little piece that we have lived through in this meeting has been an act of prayer. So we're just going to continue to be in the flow and in the knowing of that. And I'm going to just invite you to join me in taking a deep breath. Settling even more deeply into this moment, filled with gratitude, filled with love, filled with possibility, and filled with a knowing that we have captured the vision, that we move forward in faith, that we are allowing the divine to be expressed in us and as us, and that together we are continuing to expand the light and the love of God to touch even more lives. And so in gratitude for all that has come before us, in gratitude for all that is yet to be, we give thanks and we remember that the power within this community is each and every one of us as we lean on each other, as we honor each other, as we celebrate each other. So I'm going to invite us to once again open our eyes. We're still praying because as we celebrate one of us, we are celebrating all of us. And once again, as part of our prayer, is singing happy birthday to Michelle again. Eddie beat us to it. So together, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Michelle. Happy birthday to you. Remember, there's COVID.
This is who we are as a community. And the people say,
Amen.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us and being here tonight.
And you can never sing happy birthday too many times.